The red carpet in Beijing hasn't even been rolled up yet. You have seen the headlines. You have seen the grandiose photos. Donald Trump just finished what he called the most successful summit in history. But while the Western media was busy counting the handshakes, they missed the exit. As Trump's Air Force One climbed into the sky on May 15th, the real story was just beginning to land. Within 5 days of Trump's departure, Vladimir Putin arrives. This isn't a scheduling conflict, it's a message. In the next 10 minutes, we are going to look past the theatrical cordiality of the US-China summit to reveal why the world's power center is no longer in Washington. We are witnessing the final tilt of the Great Triangle. Welcome to Think BRICS. Let's start with what you were told. Trump visited Xi from May 13th to 15th. On the surface, it was lavish. Trump praised Xi as a great leader and brought a tale of oligarchs on his plane. But look closer at the mechanics. Trump was greeted at the airport by Han Zheng, the vice president. In the world of Chinese diplomacy, this is a downgrade. In 2017, Trump was met by the architect of Chinese diplomacy, Yang Jiechi. This time, he got a man who has already been effectively retired from the power center. The substance was even thinner. The two leaders met for over 2 hours, but they didn't even issue a joint statement. Instead of agreeing on the words to use, each presented their own version to the world. Separate accounts on which every sentence stood on its own, focused solely on personal interests with no trace of mutual respect. Neither of them was listening. Both were simply talking to the air. Trump claimed a victory for Boeing, yet the stock plummeted 4.6% because he only sold 200 planes when the market expected 500. He talked about fentanyl and market access. Xi talked about the Thucydides trap, the inevitable clash between a rising power and a fading hegemon. The mainstream story is that the US and China are stabilizing. The reality: they are two superpowers speaking different languages, unable to agree on a single concrete point. Why does this matter to you? Because the timing of Putin's arrival on May 19th reveals the new hierarchy of global power. In Beijing's eyes, Trump is a lame duck. They see a president losing control of Congress, presiding over a fractured nation, and leading an administration that changes its mind every few months. To China, the US is no longer a predictable actor. Now look at the Russian visit. While Trump's trip was a rare high-stakes gamble, Putin and Xi meet rhythmically. This isn't a desperate attempt to avoid war. It's the maintenance of a strategic partnership that has been 30 years in the making. Beijing isn't just hosting another leader. They are coordinating with a partner who is ready for a joint struggle against American pressure. This is the identity shift. You are no longer living in a world where the US president is the main character. China is now the host, and they are choosing who gets the rare private walks in the imperial gardens. Xi Jinping recently reminded Trump that he only invites very rare guests to the private residences of Zhongnanhai, and he specifically named Putin as one of them.
So ask the president from other countries, presidents and prime ministers, does he bring them in?
这个地方我们首先以前外事活动不在这里，后来有外事活动以后极少有动权，比如说。
If Trump's visit was about theater, Putin's visit is about the plumbing of the New World Order. The agenda for May 19th, 20 isn't about market access for Western corporations. It's about 3 pillars of multipolarity. Number 1, financial infrastructure. Russia and China are moving beyond talk. They are actively perfecting financial infrastructure to ensure that payments function uninterrupted by US sanctions. They're aggressively deploying national payment systems to bypass the dollar entirely. This is the economic warfare the West is losing. Number 2, energy security. The power of Siberia 2 pipeline is on the table. For China, this isn't just about gas. It's about strategic survival. With the Strait of Hormuz increasingly volatile, a land-based energy link to Russia makes China unsanctionable. Number 3, the security architecture. They are discussing a new global security architecture, not the United Nations-centered US-led version, but one built on the SCO and BRICS. Before we continue, a quick word about how this channel operates. Think BRICS is a small independent team with no major funders or lobbyists. If you like what we do, please consider supporting us with a super thanks here or through the links you will find below. Your backing expands our coverage. Thank you. Here is the open loop the media ignored. While Trump was in Beijing, US intelligence reports were leaking that China has been quietly selling arms to US allies in the Persian Gulf. Why? Because the US could not protect them from Iranian-backed attacks while it was busy bombing the region. China is stepping in as the reliable security provider, while Washington creates the chaos. Here is the insight you won't find on the evening news. The Great Triangle used to be about the US balancing two rivals. Today, the triangle has tilted. The relationship between Washington and Beijing is one of strategic rivalry. It is a monologue of divergent interests. The relationship between Moscow and Beijing is one of strategic trust. They don't need grandiose fanfare because their cooperation is routine. They do not have closed topics. When Putin lands, he isn't there to beg for a trade deal or flatter a great leader. He is there to finalize the documents that will define the greater Eurasia, a space that the US is being systematically expelled from. This isn't just news. It's a shift in the tectonic plates of sovereignty. The mainstream media wants you to focus on Trump's charisma or the cordial atmosphere in Beijing. They want you to think the US is still the indispensable mediator of global affairs. They are wrong. The real meaning of the Putin-Xi meeting is that the greatest summit ever was actually a grand failure of American influence. Trump left Beijing with empty promises and a falling stock market. Putin arrives to build the infrastructure of a world that no longer needs Washington's permission. The US-China era of economic symbiosis is dead. The era of the Russia-China strategic partnership is the new foundation of global stability. If you want to understand the future, stop watching the red carpets. Start watching the pipelines and the payment systems. The world hasn't just changed, it has moved on. In the new Great Triangle, the most powerful player is the one who no longer needs to wait for an invitation to the table. Thanks for watching.
I wouldn't really speak about any domineering poles. It doesn't mean that this new multipolar world should have any hegemons, because no one is speaking about this, not in BRICS, not in the SCO. Everyone has equal rights in this multipolar world. And from international law point of view, everyone must have equal rights, must be in the similar position. Yes, there are economic giants like India or China, and actually our country is among top 4 biggest economies if we speak about the purchasing power parity. These are the current realities. That's not something that we would like to have. That's what international organizations calculate, but it doesn't mean that anyone should dominate over the politics or over global security. So we do not believe that there should be some domination. Everyone must be equal